Hello, and welcome to Composer Toolbox, the show that looks at the common techniques utilized by the master film composers and how you can practically apply them. In this episode, we're going to continue with Danny Elfman's score for the 1989 Batman film, and specifically look at his really intricate use of themes and variations in the film. So, let's get started. In this film, there is arguably one main theme, and that is the Batman theme. The other characters in the film, the Joker and Vicky, don't have their own themes. The Joker specifically only has textures, timbres, and harmonic ideas, but that's for a later episode. Batman, however, has one main theme, and several other mutated versions of the theme as well. Here you can hear the main 5-note theme in its purest form played by the French horns, and then the English horn. But throughout the whole film, there persists many permutations of this, each with their own set of implications and contexts. The first variation we'll call the denied dominant tail, because the line falls down from the dominant another half step. The next we'll call the sharpened sixth tail. And this one, although used sparingly, we'll call the arpeggiated tail. But there is one other which could be called the love theme, that seems to exist as its own theme in a way, even though it's just another variation on the main theme. I also find it interesting how it's nearly identical to this accompaniment in the song from the other Batman soundtrack, Scandalous by the artist formerly known as Prince. Now, to get an idea of how the theme changes and adapts over the length of the film, I think the best way to see this is to go through the movie and note the major uses of the theme. I'll also introduce other smaller motifs that are present. So first, the music and the main titles. Here, Elfman introduces us to all 4 of the main Bat theme permutations. But next, throughout most of Act 1, Elfman uses the Bat theme rather sparingly, actually. They occur in little fragments, and they often emerge out of existing textures. Like here, only the first 4 notes of the theme play as we see Batman from a distance. And here we hear the denied dominant version after Batman says, "I'm Batman." The next major use of the theme occurs in this scene. The cue is called Bat Zone. The horns first play this inverted, or reflected, Bat theme, which could be a musical pun on the reflection of the one-way mirror. But also make note of its initial falling half step. But it's also in this cue that the Bat theme is used repeatedly outside of one single statement. Most of it is based on the sharpened sixth melodic tail. Also make note of how this variation is used here, because it'll make a little more sense later. Next, in the cue Shootout, we hear again several statements of the Bat theme, mostly the denied dominant version, that all seem to be connected with his appearance or his disappearance. But it's in this cue that we are also introduced to an important motif, the Fate motif. It's essentially the first interval of the Bat theme, a major second, turned upside down. We can hear it here as Jack is dangling, signifying his fate. And this concludes Act 1. In this act, Elfman establishes all of the important connections made by the Bat theme. The Bat theme as a heroic signifier, usually with the denied dominant tail. The Bat theme as a representation of Bruce Wayne's secrets, with a falling half step and also sometimes the sharpened sixth tail. And the Bat theme as a two-note motif that seems to blame Batman for the creation of the Joker. But moving on to Act 2, we can hear the Bat theme being used in many different ways. Act 2 opens with the love theme, here again a variation on the main Bat theme. And later, Elfman plays a combination of the main theme and the love theme, possibly suggesting the struggle that Bruce's two identities are creating for him. In the next cue, Vicky spies, we first hear again the falling half steps that we heard from earlier. This seems to be representative of Bruce's secrets, ones that shroud his past. This becomes especially clear when the brass come in very heavily on the falling half steps, suggesting that whatever lies in Bruce's past is dark and tragic. Directly after this, we get another cue that hints to the Batman theme without ever fully stating it. In this cue, Clown Attack, there's also a 3/4 version of the Bat theme, but again that's part of next video's topic. After this, we hear the Bat theme in its full heroic glory, playing both the denied dominant and the sharp six tails, much like it was played in the main titles. In the next cue of note, Descent into Mystery, the 5-note Bat theme isn't present for most of the song, but we are introduced to another motif. We'll call it the Terrifying Power motif. It's essentially just an ascending half step, which is really just the descending half step motif from earlier, flipped on its head. In this context, it seems to represent Batman's complete control over the current situation, as opposed to his vulnerability that we saw earlier. The next cue, called Batcave, also contains little mention of the Bat theme until the last moments. Even here, it's altered, outlining a major triad before going to the minor sixths. The next cue, Challenge/Dream, seems to return to the music that Descent into Mystery established, although all of the layers seem to be stripped away. There are some rising half steps in the horns that also seem to allude to the Terrifying Power motif. But in the next cue, Tender Batcave, Elfman finally plays the love theme as Vicky learns who Bruce Wayne really is. This seems to finally connect the two personas into one, at least from Vicky's and the audience's perspective. Next, in the Batmobile cue, Elfman uses the Bat theme where it was pretty much absent for a while now. Elfman again uses the denied dominant tail, but after this, Elfman reuses this tail, but this time it lands on the expected chord and it finally lands on the dominant. Batman is at a high point here. He's figured out the Joker's identity, his relationship with Vicky just might work, and he's got a plan to defeat the Joker. The landing on the dominant here really helps sell this. But the next cue takes quite a turn. The time of the cathedral chase scene is the Joker that is now at a high point. He's down to Batman's plane, he has Vicky, and he's in complete control. The Fate motif returns, but this time it's for the apparently defeated Batman. and a new version of the Bat theme is introduced. It's the sharpened sixth tail with a sinking melodic tail behind it. And as Batman sees the fallen shoe, we again get the falling half-step motif. Towards the end of the cue, however, once we see Batman is untouched by the bell, and he seems to be regaining his strength, the sharpened sixth tail is brought back with its original ending restored. Then moving forward to the showdown cue, as Batman is advancing on the Joker, we get many consistently fragmented statements of the Bat theme. But once the connection is made verbally between Jack Napier and the Joker being the same person, the five-note theme returns. But also notice how the theme isn't using its heroic identity here. Batman is literally about to murder the Joker. Anything heroic would probably be a little inappropriate. But once we see Batman start taking action when he's hanging on the ledge, the Bat theme we all know and love comes back. In the final underscore cue of the film, we get a beautiful meshing of the two Bat themes together, the main five-note theme and the love theme. There's a love theme statement with the Bat theme as the tail, there's a Bat theme with the love theme as the echo, and there's a Bat theme and love theme combined. Bruce and Batman are finally one person, and his relationship with Vicky now has a chance to move forward. And right before the end credits, we get one last statement of the Bat theme, reminding us of Bruce's dark alter ego. As you can see, even with a monothematic score, Elfman was able to take this one theme and transform it and mutate it to fill the story's needs without running the original into the ground. The thing is, this video doesn't even scratch the surface on the other thematic elements that Elfman uses in this score. I plan on making the next video just about the music underscoring the Joker. If you want to dive into the weeds on all the really intricate details of this score, then I highly recommend reading the book from Scarecrow Film Score Guides, Danny Elfman's Batman by Janet Halfyard. It goes into so much detail, and it even presents two completely different readings of the score. But anyway, if you like what I do and you want to support me in exchange for some excellent benefits, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit goes a long way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.